Thanks again, Dr. Nista. I founded Great Dental Websites about 7 years ago when my dad, some of you may know him, Dr. Mark Gladnick in Wilmington, started talking to dental website companies and marketing agencies, and they wanted, I think, like 35 grand for just the setup fees for his website. And I think my exact words were, "We're not going to waste my inheritance on this." And at the time, I was working at a startup in San Francisco doing content management systems, publishing systems for the internet. And that was kind of how I got turned on to, marketing. So what this topic is really going to focus on, and by the way, you can download my slides and the auxiliary materials from this address, greatdentalwebsites.com/SEO webinar. I think I sent that to Dr. Nista if he wants to distribute it as well. So the two things we're going to talk about, why do some dental websites seem to always come up higher in our area when we're searching for a dentist or dental services than others? And is there anything that we can do to help ensure that our website has better than average odds of being that dentist that comes up higher? The answer to that question is yes. So there's a picture of me. There are 7 dentists in my family. I did not have the calling. I went into engineering and software, like I said. I'm married. I actually live in Denver, not Colorado Springs, although Colorado Springs is quite beautiful. I have 2 children and a lovely wife. So what exactly is search engine optimization? Why is, for example, Dr. Jen Kim come up first if you search for a dentist in Kirkland, Washington? She did hire us, and that helps, but what techniques do we do, or what techniques could another dentist do to come up at the top there? Part of it has to do with the blue line that we see here, the title that's displayed to Google. You want to always have the keyword terms that you're targeting in your title for each page. So for the home page, you want to have Kirkland, Washington dentist somewhere in the title. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's 50% of it. You want to have a human readable description that has the name of the city once or twice in here as well. And then there's the local search results, which are kind of a different animal. We'll get to them more in a minute. And so here's another example in Bel Air, Texas. Why does Dr. Sterneman come up highly, and why does Dr. Madden not? Now they're right down the street from each other, just a couple blocks away. So what has Dr. Sterneman done that Dr. Madden has failed to do? If you look at how Google sees their home pages, which is usually the top ranked page on a site, they're kind of similar. Both of them have the words Bel Air, Texas dentist, the keyword targeting term that we're going for. This one is at the front, which is a little bit more helpful, but this is close. They both have kind of a human readable hook down here. Welcome to Bel Air Family Dentistry, blah, 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 blah. Down here, Bel Air, Maryland, both Texas dentist, blah, 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 blah. The only difference that we can kind of see is what's called authorship. And you may have seen this. You may have also seen it with a little picture next to a search result. So this tells Google that Dr. Sterneman has kind of formally registered his website with them. It gives them a way to kind of complain if something's wrong, or there's an error and they want to report it. But Dr. Madden has failed to do this. It's a little thing, but as we're going to see, these little things are going to start to stack up. Another thing, if you're looking just for the dentists themselves, there's a little bit more presence for Dr. Sterneman. He's got more reviews on his official Google profile. He's got these little key listings here, which happen if your website is set up properly and has good architecture. There's not really much you can force Google to do besides just kind of follow the recommendations, and they don't always show it. But if you follow the rules, this will happen. Dr. Madden has broken some kind of error, and it's not happening. We have a little YouTube video here. So different media, different content, and a little bit better results. And the same thing applies for individual services too, because people aren't just going to search for a dentist in your area. That's going to be the primary search term, but there are going to be some people who know exactly what they want. In this case, someone looking for teeth whitening in Bel Air, Texas. And what do we see here? Dr. Sterneman comes up first, but why? Let's kind of break things down. So the title tag is what is sent to Google that tells you, this is the title of this page, his teeth whitening page. And the title is Teeth Whitening, Bel Air, Texas, by dentist Dr. Jordan Sterneman. What is it, where is it, and who is it? And in the URL, we've even done this too. Where is it and what is it? We see the authorship down here, and then the description. Teeth whitening is effective and quick. Dr. Sterneman can whiten your teeth in his Bel Air, Texas office and provide take-home whitening solutions as well. It's human readable. It doesn't sound like it was written for a computer. If you look at the next listing down here, this is kind of worthless. What is this even about? But this is human readable, and it gets to the point. What is it and where is it? It always answers those questions. This is what we have for Dr. Madden. So the title starts out okay. Teeth whitening, dentist, Bel Air, Texas. That's almost what we want. Dental education library. That's kind of worthless. And then the description down here, library 71, teeth whitening. Okay, but what's more informative? Bel Air teeth whitening or library 71 teeth whitening? This one gives us a little more information, and it gives Google a little more information. That's what we want. And even more so in the description. You know, whitening procedures, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of useful about whitening, but where is it? This doesn't immediately answer the question, can you whiten my teeth in my area? Because you know, there are lots of companies that will hire search engine optimization companies to come up first for airlines or, you know, hotel travels or whatever. But dentists have a different goal. You have to not only find, you know, visitors for the website, but they have to be local. And we have to employ these types of techniques and have the right kind of keywords in here in a non, you know, spammy way in order to tell Google that, you know, not only the topic, but also our location. And that's where Dr. Madden is kind of going astray. The second thing that we see, if we do a little bit more digging on Dr. Madden's website, we go to, this is her actual teeth whitening page. So this looks pretty nice. Nice picture of Dr. Madden. Nice description of teeth whitening. But we can find some other websites that have an identical description of teeth whitening. And you have to ask yourself, if you're Google and you want people to keep using you and never switch to Bing, you have to give results that are going to make sense and be useful to the user and answer their question. But if Google's choice is to show this information about teeth whitening or this exact same information about teeth whitening, why should they show this? Why shouldn't they show this? And, you know, furthermore, why shouldn't they show this one? Exact same content. Or this one. Exact same content. And there were lots and lots and lots of sites that had identical content to Dr. Madden's teeth whitening page. So the answer is they shouldn't. There's nothing in particularly special about any of this content. And whenever you have duplicate content like this, Google treats it basically like plagiarism for both parties. Whether or not you plagiarize or not, it's very rare that it's a case of plagiarism. But that's the way they look at it. And from a practical standpoint, there's nothing unique and different about you, so why should Google treat you any better than the competitors? And we lose out. And this is a very important lesson to remember because content, quite honestly, is king. And there are some thresholds. We have to have at least 300 words of content on the page. Google wants to make sure that there's, you know, a reasonably good chance of being able to answer the question. If we only had 10 words, there's a very poor chance. If we had 10,000, it's probably more than enough. That's probably overkill. But 300 to 500 words is what we typically write for each one of these landing pages about dental services. You can use tools like Word Counter to figure that out. We want to make sure there's no duplicate content. We want to make sure there's keywords in the copy itself. So the page about teeth whitening should have the words teeth whitening on it. A little side note here, you should always use the word teeth whitening. You should not use tooth whitening or tooth bleaching. Teeth whitening, I think it's about, last time I checked, 8 times the volume of search queries that tooth whitening does and 20 times the volume as tooth bleaching. So just a little side note. But the other thing we want to have on these landing pages are pictures and video. You know, good content is good, good copywriting is good, but pictures and video can help kind of, you know, bridge the gap and get a patient to call. And every service that you have that you want to come up for in a Google search must have its own page. If you want to come up in a search for dental implants or Invisalign or teeth whitening, they all must have their own page because we have to be able to tune those titles and descriptions that we saw at the beginning for each one of those types of search queries. So I hope that makes sense. You know, we want to have a separate page, even though many dental websites will have every single service listed on the same page, and there are some convenient aspects to that. We can't be everything to Google if we have it all on the same page. We have to have separate pieces of content so we can tune them to different searches. Let's take a look at one of these. So what kind of makes up a good landing page? This is a customer of ours in Gasport, New York. And this is his landing page for dental implants. And you can't really see the text here, but it doesn't matter. This is unique text about the benefits of dental implants. Don't get caught up explaining the mechanical aspects and procedures of dental implants. At best case, that'll bore a patient, and at worst case, it might scare them. If we talk about drilling and bleeding and cutting, that's not something most patients generally want to hear. But we have a call to action at the top for them to do something, to schedule an appointment. There's a patient testimonial video, and this is actually a bit bigger. It just got shrunk when I tried to fit this on my screen, and I'll show you that in a second. So someone who's someone can at least see that at least one person got dental implants from Dr. Kaplansky and liked them, and probably more. And I think he has at least 2 or 3 of these for implants. And we have a smile gallery case where we can kind of see, well, what does my tooth look like now, and what could it look like? And hopefully this looks good. And then we have more information where they can kind of keep reading. So if they're not quite sold yet, we can keep showing them information, and they can click on the Smile Gallery and view additional cases, or click on FAQs and read more about dental implants. And does this work? Yes, it does. If you look for dental implants in Gasport, New York, it's hard to miss Dr. Kaplansky. And what comes up? His landing page. And take a look. All the same, principles we saw before. Dental implants, where? Gasport, New York. What's the human readable description? Dr. Kaplansky recommends what? Dental implants as an ideal tooth replacement for his where? Gasport, New York patients. That's a way to, put those SEO terms in a way that's not completely obnoxious. We don't want to say, Gasport, New York, dental implant dentist, Dr. Kaplansky recommends Gasport, New York, dental implants to his Gasport, New York dental patients. And you've probably seen that kind of thing before. And you look at that, and that used to work on search engines, but it doesn't anymore. They see through that, and patients certainly do. It just looks weird. Nobody talks like that. So this is kind of what we're going for, and having the local listing is always nice too. Here's another example of this. Root canals. We can kind of see a better picture of a video testimonial, but there's at least one person who had a positive experience with Dr. Kaplansky. And these videos do not have to be professionally done. A lot of our customers take them with an iPhone. And as long as you can do it in an area that's well lit, that's not noisy, and ideally if you have a tripod with a DSLR, that's perfect. But even if you just can put it on top of a counter, or you can kind of rest your arm on something so the camera's not shaking and you're not talking over the background, you can just get these quick little video testimonials. They don't have to be professional, but they do have to look authentic, and they should be authentic. These should be real patients. But if you do this, you start to get this sweet spot where not only do we come up highly for these terms related to root canals, and here's his landing page right here, second, but look what comes up ahead of it, the video testimonial for the patient. And if you click through that, you're going to get to Dr. Kaplansky's website one way or the other. And this stands out on the page. It attracts attention because it has this little video. This is my highlighting, by the way. And if you're looking for a solution to your root canal in Gasport, you literally have to trip over Dr. Kaplansky's results in order to find somebody else. This is what every dentist's goal should be. So, just like a guy trapped on an iceberg, we don't just need rescue. We need local rescue, and we need it quickly. But first, we got to get the men, the women, and the children. And the local results on Google come up down here. So this was kind of Google's answer to the problem I described before, where people are looking for airlines or whatever. People looking for dentists in Kirkland, Washington need to find somebody local. And you can see all these results here are from Kirkland, Washington. So again, I'll ask the same question. Why does Dr. Jen Kim come up first? And why does a guy like, we're going to take Kirkland Smile with Dental Care and see, why does Dr. Jen Kim get an A, and why does Kirkland Smile with Dental Care get a C? If we look at the official Google profiles that have been registered on behalf of each dentist, some differences start to emerge. This is Dr. Kim's. It's branded with the same kind of theme as her website. If you look up her website, you can see this. It's been verified. That's what this little checkbox is for. So someone has gone through the process of having Google automatically phone the office and verify a PIN code so they know it's real. And they have a bunch of reviews. 11 reviews, 4.9, 10 5-star, 1 4-star. A good description in here, a link back to the website. The website's been properly classified. It has hours in here. On this particular day, it's closed. We got a bunch of pictures of the office, the staff, the dentist, that sort of thing, and lots of good reviews down here. Let's take a look at the other one. So we haven't bothered to change the branding for the background. It has been verified. That's good. We have a short description here, but no links. They don't have the fancy one. Only a single classification for dentist, and only 3 reviews, including one very negative review from Doodah Man, who was left holding the bag, I guess. He went on vacation with a raw exposed tooth, which doesn't sound like fun. So, and that's a side note. You know, you are eventually going to get a negative review, and that's okay. My dad called me up a few weeks ago, a little upset that he had gotten his first negative review, ever, and it's going to happen. The important thing to do, there's a couple of strategies you can contact the patient if this is even a real guy, and try to work through their problem and satisfy them. Maybe they'll take it down. You can respond to it officially through Google. That has risks and rewards that you have to kind of do on a case-by-case basis, because you can end up initiating a flame war or looking worse. You usually don't want to pursue legal threats. That can usually end up blowing up in your face. The best strategy, though, is to encourage more patients to leave positive reviews. And I'm going to get to that towards the end of the presentation. But, because of this and a couple other factors, but this is the major one, how well set up is the official profile you have with Google? This is the difference between A and C. And it's the difference between, F or G and not being on here at all. You have to fill out everything that Google gives you the opportunity to fill out. Google wants your data. You have to give it to them. And you have to encourage your patients to give some data as well in the form of reviews. Let's keep going. So, the other factor that comes in, and this is another crucial factor between Dr. Sterneman's site and Dr. Matt's that we saw earlier. There's a way that you can tell Google and other search engines what your site is about, and it's kind of hidden beneath the hood, if you will, of your dental website. About a year and a half ago, Google, Bing, and Microsoft and Yahoo got together and said, we're all going to use what's called schema.org, which was a kind of a standard form of structured data that would tell a search engine what this website was about. So Dr. Madden is telling Google that I'm a local business. This is the name of my business, this is the business phone number, and this is the postal address of my business. Now, that's all well and good, but this is what it could be. Oops. This is Dr. Sterneman. Dr. Sterneman has said, hey, I'm officially Dr. Sterneman. This is me. This is a link to my Google profile, verified authorship. On top of that, here's all my structured data. Now, not only am I a local business, but I'm a dentist. Now, this is important. If someone's looking for a dentist and you're a search engine, are you going to send them to a local business or a dentist? And this isn't going to kill you. But it's just another, nail in the coffin. And every mistake you make like this starts to add up, and before you know it, you're off the first page. You can get away with a little bit more if you do most things right. But if you do a lot of things wrong and make a lot of little mistakes, you're going to end up with poor results. And the other thing, and you can look here, and there's a little bit more data, a little more accurate latitude, longitude coordinates. You can even embed the hours in here. Dr. Sterneman, as I recall, specifically did not want to specify the hours. They wanted to give like a weird range or something. So they missed out on this. But most of the time, we like to have the hours specifically so Google can tell whether or not you're open. They do take that into account, and it's a small bit, but it's a little bit, when they're deciding whether or not to show somebody. It makes more sense to show a business that's open currently than one that's closed. So what, as a dentist, can you actually do to affect this? Most of the time, what the advice we give to our clients is, we need your raw content. The one thing we can't really do is be in your office every day like you are, interacting with your patients. And, this can be things like Facebook posts. It can be things like creating images for the site. Before and after cases are a perfect example of things that are very effective that we need from you guys. And patient testimonial videos and videos of you. And, of course, implementing a patient review strategy, which I'll get to in just a second. So Facebook post can be something as simple as this. This is a post my dad created it was just a video review that one of his patients gave him. And they kind of look like a captive audience in that chair, but there's no belt they can escape. This is another example. One of our customers in Mount Pleasant constantly is bragging about his 6-month smile cases. And I know he told me he has a bunch of specialists and other GPs that follow him, and he gets referrals for this. Another option you can do, this is a pediatric customer we have in Illinois. This is a picture of his son, learning how to brush his teeth or trying his best to brush his teeth. Looks like he's just chewing on it, just like my daughter. But this is a perfect kind of thing to share for a pediatric case. On the other hand, you can go in the complete opposite direction. This is a customer of ours in, I think it's Fayetteville, Arkansas. And this is Dr. Kiefer on the left and the rest of his staff. And this is kind of goofy. Some of you may think it's ridiculous or over the top, and maybe you're right. But look at Dr. Kiefer's Facebook profile. 501 patients have liked this. Over 1,000 have visited it at some point or another. And 24 just talking about this recently. 80 people have rated him on his Facebook page. Dr. Kiefer is a guy who's followed our patient review strategy and gets a lot of new patients from his Facebook page. They don't all have to be goofy things like this. Your Facebook post can fit the brand and the personality of your practice. And this may work for Dr. Kiefer, it may not work for you. But if you want to have your patients, engage with you socially on Facebook, you have to kind of, give them something unique and different and authentic from you. And I think what Dr. Kiefer's done is he's given his staff admin access to the page so they can go around taking snapshots on their phones and, posting pictures of the birthday cakes for somebody. We're celebrating a hygienist's birthday today or whatever. Somebody got a new accreditation, won an award, we're sponsoring the Little League team, whatever. Share your involvement in the community, share what you're up to in the office, keep the conversation going besides every 6 months when a patient's in your chair. So before and after cases. This is one from my dad's practice, I think. And what you want to do is just prove that you can do it. We see some yellow teeth, we see some white teeth. If someone is at home with coffee-stained yellow teeth, they can be reasonably certain, looking at this, that Dr. Gladden can probably whiten my teeth. He did it for this person. Missing tooth, not a missing tooth. Gap in the front teeth, and I guess veneers or something, closing the gap. These are all good cases. It all demonstrates exactly what we want, patients to see, that you can do the work. Now some of you may be looking at this and saying, this is great work. This is not ideally what I'd like to see. And the reason is the cheek spreaders. What we don't want to give an impression of is that the procedure is going to be very uncomfortable or painful. And cheek spreaders are not something that most people walk around with recreationally. It's not something that's particularly comfortable. So there's no reason to show this. Yeah, maybe you can get a little bit more detail in here, but it's not worth it. I'd much rather have natural looking smiles, where it just kind of magically appears and you can just see the benefits. This is making us understand that there's a little bit of pain associated with it. That's something that's better left explained and counseled by you in your office than on your website before they've even kind of called. So the video testimonials is something that's extremely valuable. We saw how that can work with root canals. I can show you lots and lots of examples of videos coming up highly in search results for dental services in local areas. Just a couple examples of this. And again, they don't have to be professional. They can be, these I think were taken with an iPhone and like a point and shoot, because this was taken by my mom, like a point and shoot Canon, like 720p, little like camera, like $150 camera. Doesn't have to be fancy, but we need good lighting. We need no noise. Ideally, we need a tripod. The other thing you can do is to record a quick little introduction video of you. Ideally, again, we want to have a DSLR on a tripod, especially for this one. We don't want it kind of moving around. But this is just my dad in his home office, just kind of talking about his practice philosophy and trying to look like a nice guy that's not scary and won't poke you with a tool. So that's all you need. You don't have to have a fancy production company come in. If you do, that's great, but you don't have to, and you can always do that later. What you want to do is kind of break down the apprehension barrier that some patients are going to have. Not everybody was like me and grew up going to their dad whenever they had to go to the dentist and didn't have any fear at all. A lot of people are scared. Some of my staff is downright scared of going to the dentist because they've had bad experiences. This is your opportunity to come across as a human being and, encourage the patient to come in and try to break down a little bit of that resistance. The final thing I'm going to talk about is what does an effective patient review strategy look like? And this can really, make or break how well you do in those local search results in really competitive areas. But you have to have positive reviews in order for new patients to find you online. And how are we going to get those? Well, when a patient comes to your practice, you need to do great work, and most of you probably do. And for the patients especially patients who have been patients for a while, or you know for certain that they had a great experience, we have to have a way to methodically follow up with those patients. There are a bunch of services that offer this. Some of you may use Demand Force or Lighthouse or services like that. Those are okay if they're modified. We do not want to use ever the default thank you thing with a survey. That gives you good feedback, but it doesn't help with search engine optimization at all. I don't care what the people from Demand Force tell you. We have to get those reviews onto Google, Yelp, and places like that matter. There is one service called bestlocalreviews.com that a lot of our customers use that I do think is particularly effective. That's bestlocalreviews.com. I'm not really affiliated with them, besides we just happen to like them. But we have to get people to leave reviews online where it matters. And that means, Google, Yelp, and Facebook. And some percentage of the patients are not going to leave a review. Some percentage will. Some of those reviews are going to get filtered and not show up, even though a patient told you they left a review online, and this can be frustrating. Don't give up. This is a numbers game. And the reason a lot of reviews get filtered is because some patients just want to do you a favor. They create a Google account, they create a Yelp account, and they leave a 5-star review. So you can imagine, and Google, Yelp, and all these other places are very aware that there are unscrupulous, businesses buying reviews. And from Google's perspective, if somebody joins Google on day one, the first thing they do is they go to Dr. Nista's site, his profile, and they leave a 5-star review and say what an awesome, orthodontist he is. To Google, that's exactly the same behavior as if Dr. Nista had paid somebody in India, $20 a review to get them on his page. So, we try to target people, and we have a review template that if you follow that link at the end of my presentation, we can send you that we give to all of our clients. That kind of spells out the options for people. That tells you, if you're already on Google, by all means, give us a review on Google. If you're on Yelp, give us a review on Yelp. If you're somewhere else, give us a review here. And it lists a couple different options that you can fill in. Take advantage of that and send me an email, and I'll give it to you. But we want people to leave reviews where they're already established so they don't get suppressed. And that's kind of, the overall picture for how, and kind of a quick and dirty crash course for the basic tenets of SEO and what you guys can do to affect it. I wanted to leave a little bit of time to take questions, and maybe we can take a look at somebody's site if we have time, or if we have a brave volunteer. Thanks again, and I'm perfectly happy to take any questions you guys have. The link in the top is where you can get this presentation as well as that review template I mentioned.
Anybody, thoughts, questions? Anybody want to volunteer their site? Jeff will pull it up and look at it. Yeah, what if you guys unmute him if you want to ask questions? No, Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a question about topics of page topics being Google accessible. If you have a page that says services, and you have the listing of your services, and each is hyperlinked to a page, is that page acceptable?
So I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I heard, if we have a page of services, and each page, and there are links on the services page to, I guess, detailed descriptions of each service, but I couldn't quite get the last part of that.
It says services, and veneers is one of the listing of services. And it has a hyperlink, and then there is a separate page of veneers that has pictures and info. But it is not a primary page, it's a hyperlink off of services. Is that Google accessible?
Yes. As long as you have links anywhere on your site and you haven't specifically set up rules for Google not to index it, which you can do, but you would have to deliberately do that, Google will find that content. It doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't significantly matter, where you put it, as long as it's easy for Google to find. So it's not, you don't have to go keep clicking and clicking and clicking. If you have to go like 7 levels deep to find the veneers page, that's probably a mistake. But if all you have to do is go to the services page, and where's an example of this? I can just show you real quick. where's Dr. Leshevsky? So, you know, if we go to Dr. Leshevsky's page and we go to his services page, down here we have kind of the same thing. Well, here's the link for veneers. And here's his landing page for veneers. And this has been tuned for veneers in Rehoboth Beach. So if you look for Rehoboth Beach, Delaware veneers, there we go, don't fail me now. So we have, you know, landing pages targeted towards veneers. And you can do the exact same thing. So it doesn't, you don't have to have everything in the menu if that was your question. It can be under a sub page. We just have to have a, you know, logical presentation. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
What other questions do we have, or do we want to wait? I'm happy to take a look at somebody's website if somebody's brave or confident.
Oh.
Well, you got several different offices, so which one am I going to use? What's your name up there? Yeah, I knew that. Try New Concept Dental.
Oh, Dr. Fay. Okay, I've seen him. Dr. Fay has actually done a fairly good job. I see him quite a bit. So let's take a look. Einstein. They're expensive, but they did do a good job here. So the design is subjective. That's not really my place to comment on. But we'll take a quick peek under the hood here. So let's run this through the rich snippet tool and see if all the ducks are in a row there. So he's established authorship, which is good. That's been verified. This is good. Organization. This should be dentist. That will help slightly. Same thing down here, local business. I'm not sure why this is in here twice. That's kind of weird. The other thing you should have in there is hours. Let's take a look at let's grab this one just to show you kind of the difference. So things we could use the geo coordinates, the lat longitude, and we could use the hours. And this should probably be changed from organization and local business to dentist. Let's take a look at Dr. Leshevsky's real quick so we can see the difference real quick. So you can see, you know, we're telling Google what the hours are. This is kind of helpful if it's trying to determine who's open immediately. And if the query is something like emergency dentist, well, then it really does matter whether or not you're open now. Similarly, down here, we have geo-coordinates. That's kind of helpful. So those two things are what I would change, or those three. The hours, the geo-coordinates, and organization to dentist. Let's keep going. So another thing we can check is, here's one issue. The phone number should always be in plain text and indexable by Google. One of the things they check for is what's called NAP consistency. So the name, the address, and phone number. The name is New Concept Dental. The address is 900 Folk Road, and the phone number is this. If it's not indexable, if it's inside of a picture like this and it's not plain text, that can be a problem. It looks like it's down here, so that's probably okay. But ideally, we want every phone number in plain text. Let's take a look at how this works on a mobile device. I'm just going to fake it out real quick. Pretend I'm on a mobile phone. Okay, so the site works. It comes up. What we don't, this is better than most sites we see, where it's just like a complete failure. So you can still navigate around and move, but we have to kind of search for things. If we want to, this is kind of what we see immediately. We don't, see the phone number right away. Ideally, I'd like to see something like this. This is Dr. Kim's site that we saw before. So this is the desktop site. We can kind of scroll around here. If we come to the mobile site, it's the exact same website. It's what's known as a responsive design, which is exactly by the book, the way Google wants you to do it. And you always want to go by Google's book. But we've changed the layout slightly. So the phone number is in plain text and in a little button, so you can press it with your thumb and click to call. Same thing with directions. This will take you right to Google Maps, so if somebody's driving around lost, they can find the practice. We want to maintain the branding image, on the mobile phone and the desktop. And all the links are a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to click with your thumb. But the text and the content is exactly the same. And we suppress some of the items that would take a little bit longer to load on a mobile phone. Mobile phones are generally slower than desktop connections, so we want things to go as quickly as possible. Let's take a look back at Dr. Fay's site here. So let's take a look at sedation dentistry. So sedation dentist, Wilmington. So I presume this is the what he's targeting. So this is Dr. Let me show you in a little more easily readable format. Hold on. Good. So this is how Google sees Dr. Fay's page about sedation dentistry. Sedation dentistry, what, where, Wilmington, Delaware, who, New Concept Dental. Pretty good. Sedation dentistry at Wilmington, Delaware practice helps patients who are afraid of undergoing dental treatment. This is pretty good. Maybe Wilmington in here, adding that because we have a little bit more real estate to work with in the URL, but that's a minor thing. HTML is not really helpful. We've kind of made a minor transgression. There's a 155 character limit for the description. We've gone over that. Minor thing. So is it working? Sedation dentist, Wilmington, Delaware. Yes, it is. Sedation dentistry in Wilmington, Delaware, New Concept Dental. Perfect example, and this is done fairly well. A couple very small mistakes, but overall the major things have been met and it's being rewarded. There's usually other factors that go into this besides just the links. If it was just that easy, everybody would do it. Let's make sure. Let's see if he's got any duplicate content. Good. Nothing. That's what we want to see. Yeah. So this is good. So overall, this looks like a well-executed site. I might consider updating the design and doing something with the mobile. Couple minor things, but overall, we see good search engine performance. We see the major rules being followed, and it appears that he's being rewarded for it when we look for a sedation dentist in Wilmington, Delaware. We could look through some more examples, or we could look at somebody else's site, or I can answer specific questions.
How do you create the? I assume that there's some. How is it that you get a site that functions one way on a desktop and a different way on a mobile?
There's a way. I mean, I don't know if you guys really want me to get into the finer points of a cascading style sheet design, but there is some code you can embed on a website that tells Google, once the screen is this small, or once a specific type of browser, so an Android browser, an iPhone browser, is detected, then we're going to switch the rules for how the site is laid out. It's not that complicated. And was that Dr. Fay asking the question?
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that Einstein would know how to do that. You just have to ask them to make this thing mobile friendly.
Anybody else? All right, Jeff. That was great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody, for your time. Again, my presentation can be found right here. You can I'll probably post it to our YouTube channel later, but if you want to view my slides, you can go here. And if you'd like to get our review template, you can get that from here as well. I sent the link to Dr. Nista. If he'd be so kind as to email it to the group, I'd appreciate it. Thanks again for your time.
Great. Thanks.